At the very beginning of my 10 years in prison, I got some advice that I really didn't want to hear, but I did need to hear it. I was in the county jail awaiting my court date where I would ultimately be sentenced to 10 years. And I was talking to a guy who had already done 10 years himself, gotten out for a little while, and unfortunately had come back. He was the age at that time that I would be once I finished my 10 years. And he went in and started his 10 years when he was the age that I currently was at that time. So he had, in a way, been through exactly what I was about to go through. And I remember asking him, just hoping to make myself feel better. Hey, it's not gonna, life isn't gonna be too different. Things won't have changed too much once I'm done with all this time, will it? And instead of telling me what most other inmates had been telling me and just, what they know I want to hear, he gave it to me straight. He gave it to me unfiltered, and he said, yeah, he said pretty much everything's gonna change. Everyone you know right now will have lived their life for 10 years. They'll be 10 years older. People are going to be married. People are going to have kids and then more kids. People are going to have careers. They're going to have houses. They're going to have grown and changed, into their own, for better or for worse. They will have changed for a decade. And you will too. But what direction you grow into and in what ways you change is 100% up to you. I would look back on that conversation many times over the next 10 years. When I first got to prison, it was so different. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anybody. There were no familiar faces there. I had no friends, and no one's there to make friends. It's a very lonely place. It's a place where you're never by yourself, but you're always alone. All I wanted to do was just escape, not actually escape, like break out of prison, but just escape my reality. I think the first year, all I did was read books just to get into another world, just to escape my reality. I would just read books. And it got so bad, and you're so lonely in there, that I would read these books and get so connected and close to these characters in these books that by the time the book ended, man, it hurt. It hurt because there's no more story with these characters. They're gone. They're done. These characters that I've been reading, whose lives I've been a part of for the past 2 weeks, it's over with. And it would actually hurt. That's just a book. That's how lonely it was in there. I did that for, about a whole year. I didn't want to accept my new reality. I didn't want to accept my new situation. What made it worse, some guys would come around, they'd have the contraband cell phones you could get on Facebook, and man, I made the mistake of getting on my old Facebook just for 5 minutes, and at that time it had been about 2 years since I had been locked up, and I looked on that and I saw all my old friends just, I was in my 20s, so all my friends are in their 20s, and they are out there living life. They are at concerts, festivals, beach, summertime, just living it up, making memories, creating memories, living, having stories to tell, just living life. And I'm just there doing what? Reading books, sitting on my bunk, rotting, wasting away. It really hit me. I just hated it. I had this, the fear of missing out. I felt like I was missing out on so much of just life. I couldn't stand it. It ate me up. It ate me up inside. And, honestly, thankfully, it bothered me so bad that it gave me this, lit a fire. When I saw that, I got fired up. Decided right then, I want fulfillment. Maybe it won't be as much as they're getting, but, I'm going to get as much as I can back here. I'm going to make the most of it. I wanted fulfillment. I wanted memories. I wanted stories. I wanted to meet people. It may not be the best people to meet in there, but it's all I got. And I'm going to meet people. I'm going to talk to them. I want to hear their story. I want to make my own stories. Anything but waste away on my bunk. That may lead to some, this is a dangerous place, and it could get me in some scary situations, but No matter how dangerous the place is or scary the situation is, that it is what it is. It's prison. That doesn't mean I have to be afraid of it. As long as I live through it, if nothing else, I'll have that story. But if I just sit here on my bunk reading books, I'll have nothing. And that's exactly what I did. I dove right in. I got right to it, and I made the most out of it. And that's part one, kind of what I learned and how to really mentally handle that, survive, and get through that. This is prison and this is life, I believe. No matter your situation, embrace it and make the most out of it, and make sure you get what you want out of it. With that being said, and with all the people I met and all the stories I heard and all the stories I created for myself, didn't really solve the fact that, going back with what I said earlier, though you meet all these people, even though you're never by yourself, you're always alone. It's still a lonely place at its core. No one's there. No one cares about you. No one loves you. No one's your friend. No one's your family. All you got is yourself in there. And so, kind of part two of this, and what I really had to figure out how to do, which I had never in my life known how to do. If you're going to be by yourself, if you got to be alone, you better enjoy your own company. I feel like that's something you have to learn all in itself, is how to enjoy your own company. Because at first, I certainly didn't. But I just, once I got good at it, I started to prefer it a little too much. I started to like it so much, I'd rather be by myself than around some of those guys. I guess I took a good hard look at, what do I like? What are my passions? What are my interests? What do I really enjoy? What have I not, what do I enjoy that I haven't been embracing and I haven't been participating in and working at? Because I'm worried about other people's opinions or worried about failing at it, and just embrace it and pursue it. And I truly feel that whether you're actually in prison or whether you feel like you're in some sort of prison, just in the spot that you're at in your life right now, this applies to anyone. Once I started putting my focus and my energy into the things that I truly, deep down, cared about, started being true to who I was, it really helps you figure out who you are and where you're going to go from here. So let me give you some examples of just some things that I started putting my focus and my energy and my time into that I actually cared about and I enjoyed and brought me happiness, just being myself. That's what I started putting my time into in prison. And you're going to see how that would dictate where I go after prison and where I'm at right now, which is probably the happiest I've ever been in my life. So for example, like you see these Pokemon posters on my wall, that goes back to my childhood. I love Pokemon, and I got back into it. I'd get on my contraband cell phone and I would play the video games that I used to play as a kid, and that was just therapeutic for me. That was nostalgic for me. It was something I enjoyed. Yeah, if my roommate saw it, who just doesn't get it and was like, what are you doing over there? Whatever. It's something I enjoy. Later when I would get out, I've met a lot of friends and met a lot of mutual people who enjoy Pokemon because, as a content creator, I've made Pokemon-based content like this one. And as you can see, I got a lot of people who also share that interest. When I was in middle school, I was one of those kids, I tried every sport and didn't really stick with any sport, but I did stick with tennis. I got really good at tennis and I liked tennis. That was something I really enjoyed. And so I started going out to rec and I embraced it. I played handball. If you don't know what handball is, it's pretty much tennis without a racket. Your hand is the racket and you're just hitting the ball. And you play with other people, and I met other people who enjoy that too. And when I came home, that's something I stuck with. And I even got into pickleball, which is a form of kind of a smaller version of tennis. It's just as fun. And you see here, I used it to connect back with my family members. My sister and my dad here, they both enjoy playing it, and I played with them and met other people who played. That's something that started in prison that I got back into and continued out here. I enjoy making people laugh. Man, I would be in my cell telling stories. You know how I got good at stories? Reading all those books, meeting other people, meeting characters. You get plenty of colorful characters in prison. You're going to hear plenty of crazy stories, and I loved retelling them, telling them to my cellmates, helping them pass the time. I got so good at it, I started getting on Facebook on my contraband cell phone towards the end of my sentence and writing these short stories that were actually true about some of the memories I've created, some of the people I've met, and some of the stories they told me from their life. Started retelling some of those, and they were enjoyed so much by my Facebook friends. The day I got out, they encouraged me, hey, get on YouTube, get on TikTok, get on somewhere, on stage. And I ended up doing all three of those. I've got on stage and performed.
He's looking real classy. He looks like the butler of a meth lab.
I've got on YouTube and retold these stories. The first week I got out, I got on TikTok and told these stories. I had 1 million views within a week, just from pursuing my passions. And that's something that I thought was just, I was young. I was like, that's not cool. That's not, I'm in prison now. I gotta, do all this. And I was just true to myself. And these are things I enjoyed. If I'm the only one who cares about it, that's fine, because I gotta be okay with being with myself. I have to enjoy my own company. And so I did, and once I started doing that and pursuing my interests and my passions and not worrying about anybody else, I started getting good at those things. When you get good at those things that you enjoy, it brings fulfillment, it brings happiness, and you appreciate yourself, you're proud of yourself. It brings confidence in yourself. And when you bring that confidence, you start to look at yourself differently. You will care about yourself. If nobody else cares, you care about yourself. If nobody else has your back, you have your back. If no one else loves you, you love you. You don't become dependent on these friendships. You don't let people walk all over you because you don't want to lose these friendships. And when you start to value yourself in that way, other people are going to value you in that way. And that's going to attract, it's just something I've noticed personally. It's going to attract the right kind of friendships, the correct kind of relationships for you. And so, in short, to wrap it up, physically is a different thing, but mentally, that's how I made it through. I reached a breaking point, and I feel like at that point, I feel like a lot of people get there when you go to prison, or when you're in some life situation that's, comparable to prison, and what it does to you. It come to a point where it's either going to make you or break you. Man, one of the greatest ways you can care about yourself and love yourself and respect yourself is to let it make you. Those hard situations, those hard times, make sure it makes you. Don't ever let it break you.